the foreclosures that are in the process of being filed. And I've noticed lately there has been kind of an uptick in foreclosures.
All right. Henry McClure live. I'm in the Glass Houses studio today with Marshall Barber. We're going live on Facebook over here and
right here.
YouTube over there and Facebook over here on Marshall's page. You get a lot of viewers. I appreciate you coming into the studio. But today we're going to talk about something we know a little bit about, and that's real estate. So when did you get your real estate license the first time?
First and only time in the mid 80s.
Okay.
So you would think by now that I've gotten pretty good at it.
Well, so I got mine very late 79 and worked at Bill Lewis Real Estate. And
there's a blast from the past.
Yeah.
You were down there with Ron Gooding and Terry Cobb.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I really liked Ron Gooding.
Yeah.
Yeah. In fact, I officed with him. Bill said you ought to office with him down on 6th Street. He had his law office down there.
You could learn a lot from Ron.
He was a character.
He could make a deal.
Yeah, he could. Hey, any guy that could make a deal to get out of prison, that's my guy.
Yeah.
All right. So you got a new listing?
Okay.
Let's talk about your listings.
Actually, okay. On the subject of my new listing, first of all, let's talk about 1322 Collins.
You sold that.
And let's propose a slightly different sentiment regarding real estate pricing, because this is something that I heard when I went to a buyer's agency class with Vernon Jarbo.
Now, this is the Garling House property, right?
Well, it's Garling House Plan number 109.
Okay.
English bungalow.
English bungalow.
Yes. And it was one of two built in Topeka. The other one's over by Potwin. And want to say hi to Lisa.
Hello, Lisa.
We're on Facebook Live with the redoubtable Henry McClure, who some people are now calling a liberal, which I find amusing. I guess, if by the end of the year, if we have people calling me a conservative and calling you a liberal.
Boy, that's a change of hats.
That means.
Then I'm going to have to start wearing a hat like Kevin Cook.
That means our work has been done. But anyway.
Did you ever see the movie Heaven Can Wait?
It's been so long.
I noticed he took a disliking to his hats.
It's been so long.
Well, anyway.
The principle that came up in this class on buyer agency, which has to do with pricing real estate, by the way. And I kind of reverse this and apply this to pricing some of my listings, including particularly the one at 1322 Collins, where there's a pretty good, healthy demand curve. Now, if you don't know that there's a good, healthy demand curve, this isn't necessarily applicable, but listen to this. Until you meet price resistance, then your price is not right. And this is what people in a law firm were telling Vern and other attorneys, that if you're not raising your hourly rate to the point where people are resisting it, you probably haven't been charging enough. So if you're charging,
none of my clients have that.
If you're charging $250 an hour and people are lining up to get that, maybe you should try raising to $350 an hour and see if they'll pay that. Well, the same thing applies to real estate. And there's so many real estate agents out there who say, well, you got to price it so it'll sell quick. And
okay, so let's talk about that.
So they take a market study, which purports to show a certain price, and then they come in at a price. Now, again, if you're in a market where there's too much inventory, this does not apply. But when you have what's called a seller's market, I'm saying as a seller's agent, why not try to meet price resistance? Because if you've got a house that you're pretty sure is worth, say, $200,000, and the market has been going up, and in Topeka the market has been going up, why not start higher and see if someone will pay it? Which is what we did at 1322 Collins, listing for 219. Well, we ended up reducing it to 209, but that was because our experiment proved that we weren't going to get 219 or 215 or 213.
Are you under contract today
Well, after reducing the price to 209, yes, we are
at
under
209?
contract. Well, I can't say what the contract price is till
Okay.
it closes.
All right.
But
Well, so
this illustrates my principle, though, is that a lot of real estate agents like to put up signs saying, "Oh, sold fast." Well, if it sold that fast, is it possible?
did you leave money on the table?
Is it possible, just possible, that maybe you were underpriced?
Well, so as a transaction broker, I'm just working for the deal. And that's what I've been
That's
my whole
correct.
life. Yeah, I'm always trying to figure out how to make money. So I've argued, like Blackie, for example, he sold his house in Shadywood. We interviewed several agents, and I disagreed with all of them. And I said, this is what the price should be.
And Tyler Weibel pointed out something interesting about real estate agents when he was our guest, and that he had numerous properties that he was involved with and selling. And he said, "Hey, none of these guys want to put their property on Facebook Marketplace." And so I took that to heart and thought, well, okay, I'll put 1322 Collins on Facebook Marketplace. And you know what happened? I got a phone call from Washington, the state, and I spent half an hour on the phone with someone who was really serious about buying that house. Now, she didn't get it bought because she would not meet
You know, that's a really good point.
she would not meet the owner's counter, but still, because of being on the marketplace thing, we got a real live qualified cash buyer.
I'm going to try
in a
that
week.
for
Yeah.
my commercial listings.
Oh, I would.
Why not? What do I got to lose?
Doesn't cost you anything.
Doesn't cost you anything.
So I guess part of my thing as a real estate agent is, even though I've been around for quite a while, I've learned that I need to listen to people. And, a young guy like Tyler Weibel comes along and says, "Hey, the people in your profession don't listen to me. They just want to do things the way they've always done them." And I went ahead and put it on Facebook Live, not Facebook Live, Facebook Marketplace, and sold the damn thing myself. So,
good job.
So, you
and that's the idea. And I really am. I feel bad because I referred, because I've always referred my commercial or my residential listings to other people.
right.
And because it's apples and oranges, selling houses and the disclosures and the muckety muck paperwork, all that. It's too encumbering it's just not what I do. I've got to have a very little in my file for auditing. And what's really nice is I just put my files online, and it's very simple, as a transaction broker. But you can't use the comparable sales as a tool if you're representing the sellers. You've got to price it. You're not there to. So the way I look at the universe is, well, I'm in commercial real estate. It's an investment. I'm not here to price it right. I'm here to make my client money. Well, so we'll put that test right to the beginning.
Yeah.
Of
By the way,
resistance.
This is Facebook Live. We're talking real estate with Henry McClure and myself.
So I'm willing to find that resistant number right away. There's always been a very old saying in real estate: if land is not selling, raise the price.
Raise the price?
Yeah, if land is not selling, raise the price. In fact, I will be raising the price at 21st and Adams.
Okay.
Because of the expense we had to go through to make it available.
Not to mention being on the front page of the newspaper.
When does an eviction? We're hillbillies. We are in Topeka. Hey, guy got evicted. That's front page news. You know, that's that's
Yeah,
not.
that was pretty astounding. I want to say
But
hi
look,
to Rose and to Clay, who
which
are dialing
Rose?
in. Uh, Rose G. And
Oh,
it,
it's like an AA meeting here.
well, if it's someone that I'm not personally that familiar with, I'm hesitant to use the last name.
Guilty by association.
No, I think Mr. El Dorado Biarritz doesn't mind if we use his full name. This really cool Cadillac El Dorado Biarritz pulled up in front of my real estate office Saturday while I was actually inputting another listing on 12th Street Terrace, a beautiful duplex. And this car, it was a guy going to the farmer's market, and this caught my eye so much, I thought, okay, I'm going to take a picture of that car and put it on Facebook. And Clay says it's his car. Uh, so, yeah, nice car. And actually, that car is sort of an analog for some real estate in the sense that if you get a house like 1322 Collins and you know there's only two houses like it in the entire community, it's kind of like that mid 70s El Dorado Biarritz, where, okay, you want this car? You know, there, not that he's trying to sell that car, but it's like, okay, you want that car? Well, how many cars like it are there? So what are you willing to pay for that car if you really want it? Knowing that if you don't buy that car, you're not going to get that car.
So
And you're not
let's
going to go onto a car lot and find another car like it. Same thing with 1322 Collins. You want that house? Okay, give me 209,000. Don't argue with me about whether it's 208 or 207 or 205, because in Topeka real estate, it's like that car, because 5 years from now, all the houses in this town, if they've been maintained correctly, are going to be worth way more than they're worth right now.
better than the usual 6% increase.
Perhaps.
And I tell you what's going to
We've
happen.
had phenomenal increases just since the year 2020.
Well, I
Phenomenal
think what's
increases.
going to happen in this market, if we run our town right and our county right,
Exactly.
people will gravitate to this area to get out of other areas that aren't.
It's already happening.
Yeah.
Like the woman from Washington that I was talking about, she's up there in one of those metropolitan, not Seattle, but in another metropolitan area where you can't buy a house because they're all $500,000. So why not move to Topeka where you can buy a house for 200,000 or 300?
Well, so let's talk about our friend that was down in Fort Worth, Texas.
Okay, now this is a case history.
This is
Textbook case.
apropos and a great segue.
I'm actually going to take that. I'm going to take a screenshot of that and send it over to Vern Jarbo and say keep the seller's name out of it. But this is a textbook case for buyer agency here. Let's tell our people what happened to this woman.
Well, so, and actually, I met this person over the front page article of the eviction.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because and Larry Ma called me an ogre, which is really rude from a guy that doesn't collect a lot of taxes. You know what I mean?
Called you an ogre?
He did. He called me an
That
ogre.
wasn't in the newspaper article, was it?
No, I'm just telling you now. That's why we've got to maintain a media presence and tell it like it is.
So was it Halloween? Were you dressed like an ogre?
No, just because I was trying to.
An ogre.
And it's all because I wanted to develop a property.
That's like a WWE nickname. Henry, the ogre McClure.
So 16 months ago, I wrote a letter to Sylvia Ortiz asking for her help.
Oh, okay.
That I wanted to develop that property. And he was constructively evicted out of the property.
Right.
And so, he didn't pay his water bill. Like over a year ago, he got his water shut off.
That, by the way, is a point of fact. If you're living in a home and you don't have the utilities on, and the city finds out about it, then they can put a condemnation thing on the front.
Well, so who's the ogre? Is it the city of Topeka for turning his water off?
That's very ogre-like, yeah.
Yes, the city of Topeka is an ogre for not giving a guy free water.
Right.
But I should give a guy free real estate.
Yeah.
And it's not even me. I'm not even the manager. I'm just the guy that wants to develop the property.
Yeah,
And I'm changing my real estate deal with this person today.
today,
Yeah, today. We've
as we
got
speak.
and I'm going to either be the developer or I'm going to turn the listing over to somebody else. But even as a developer, I can still pay you a commission. I can
So,
I can still offer you a commission if you bring me a deal as part of my development.
so this listing is the corner of 21st and Adams,
Yeah, and what I
and it's
have,
got a little house.
I have a compensation agreement.
Yeah, and it's now vacant.
Well, so let's try to keep it. Uh, all of our deals, we get in the weeds because we know the story, we know the background.
Right.
So the front page article prompted this person to call me and thought, well, maybe this guy could help me uh, navigate through all this.
Okay, that's how
Yeah.
this case that we're going to talk about, that's how it started.
Right. So then I put on,
With the
well, you
front
know,
page
someday
article.
I'm going to be a county commissioner.
Mhm.
And things like this, she would be a constituent.
Right.
So how do
If she's
I?
in your district,
Yeah, she's in my district, absolutely,
this is the District 2, right?
of city council. But see, I have District 1, 2, 3, and 4. Actually, she's in District 3, I think, or 4.
Okay.
No, she's in 4. That's
So
Banks District.
she's over there in the High Crest neighborhood, which is also colloquially known as the Dirty South.
Yeah. So how does she know? Uh, then to add insult to injury, the poor girl has to leave town due to some medical emergency from in her family. While she's out of town, she's robbed, and they took her technology, you know, her notepads, computer, and all of her family genealogy.
Yeah, who does that?
A thief. So you've got
We should set up a GoFund thing for her or something. That's terrible.
it is it's and so here we are. Here we are. So me as a newbie county commissioner or wannabe county commissioner who's not been a part of the residential real estate, you know, I've just been on the
Mhm.
fringe of it.
Well, can we get into the particulars of this case?
Well, yeah. So so for this, I thought, well, should we be regulating landlords? How do we make it to where somebody can get online and say, well, you know, this guy has multiple cases, lawsuits. You know, we don't. You can't. Everything can't be an
So,
Easter egg hunt.
With regard to this particular case, this particular owner already has.
From what I understand, and you know, right now there's no money in it for me to go look up his lawsuits. But my research department has looked up online and found there are. You know, it's nice to have some volunteers. Some people have said, you know, we like what you say.
What's
And
the name of the company?
my research,
No, the name of the company that owns these houses.
well, it's an individual.
Oh,
Do you have the letter there?
He owns them all as an individual?
Well, I don't know that for a fact, but
Because
we
I
do.
don't really want to get into putting
That
the
guy's
out
name?
there. But let's review the particulars of the case. We had this woman from Texas
Yes.
who wants to leave Texas and move to Topeka.
Finds it online somehow.
Somehow she finds it online, and she gets. Did she mention what the price was?
Yeah, I think it's like 68,000, and
my
she
God.
put $10,000 down in option money.
Option.
Yeah. So
it
she's
refundable?
leasing it with the option to purchase it.
Is it refundable, or do we know that?
I've got all the paperwork sitting on my desk.
We should look at that. Now, this is a textbook example of why you don't buy property without some kind of representation, preferably a buyer's agent who's going to, number one, handle the transaction in a manner that's,
Well, and what a
That's
convoluted deal.
but
There's,
still,
I mean, buyer's agency is for buyers and tenants. I mean, if you look at the law, it's a slash, isn't it? /
mhm.
buyer tenant.
Then you have a single, yeah, you have a single female. And as a buyer's agent, you are conscious of, well, what part of town do you want her living in? You mentioned that she was broken into when she had to leave town. So,
And all I'm trying to look at from 10,000 feet about regulating landlords. Hey, and what do you, and it's almost like the more pushback I get from my friends, well, why is there so much pushback? If you don't pay your taxes, well, you make the list. If you got multiple code violations, you make the list. If you're paying your
Yeah.
taxes and you don't have code violations, and so, and maybe private enterprise could do this. But me, it's okay. People would get resentments for me making money on it because that's the way Topeka is.
yeah, well, okay, so she moves into the house.
Moves into the house.
She's put up her 10 grand.
Yeah. And then
And
she
we don't-
leaves, gets robbed, come back.
Well,
And there's all sorts of gymnastics going on with some of the renovations. And then she starts smelling the methane gas.
methane gas. This is not something that you want to see anywhere, particularly not in your house. But the thing that you forwarded me indicated that she had numerous problems with real fundamental things like sewer lines, faucets missing in the kitchen. And this is where a buyer's agent comes in to play, suggesting, well, maybe you want to have inspections done, or in the case of some things that are obviously already wrong, maybe you want to get those fixed before you turn the money over, before you close. These are things that need to be done. I've sold several houses over there in that same neighborhood,
So hang on.
and I haven't, I've
So
never
it's
had
not
those
listed for
problems.
sale. It's a lease with the option to purchase it.
Yeah,
Where do you get paid?
well, the owner, when you say you, are you referring to?
I'm
agents?
saying you. Where do you get paid in this transaction?
Okay, well, that's an interesting question. Because of the recent changes in how real estate agents are going to be doing things, in that,
So where does she go to hire you?
well, she can call me and say, I'll pay you $200 an hour to be my agent. And if we find something and you can negotiate a commission from the seller, then that's great. But if not, I'll pay you another grand.
If I were in the residential business,
This
what
is
I
all-
find fascinating about where you're trying to take things,
This is all new. See,
well,
this-
yeah, but you're going into it. Well, I got to get paid for my time.
Right.
And that's why I've enjoyed the commercial business, because I know whether or not it's worth it to take on the job or working for people that are going to pay me no matter what.
Yeah. So if you're a buyer and you've got money, now the problem, see, what's happened is there's been all this litigation. And what is apparently going to come out of all this litigation is that increasingly buyers are going to have to pay their agents separately. Now, again, a lot of this is determined by the market. In other words, if you're a seller and you want people interested in your property, maybe you need to have your agent put it on the market that you're going to pay, say, 3% to the listing agent, 3% to the selling agent.
Yeah, and that's not against the law.
That's typically the way things are done now. But we had this huge lawsuit against the National Association of Realtors about buyer agency, which in my view has been totally misrepresented in the press as saying, well, the results of this are going to save buyers money because the sellers no longer have to pay buyer's agency commission, which
Well,
guess
so
what?
the case in point is that part of the problem with this young lady is she didn't have somebody working
She had
for her.
nobody,
She didn't have an advocate from day one.
right? And I would say it would have been worth her while to at least maybe drive around the neighborhood, see who's got signs up, and let's say you see
But you can't just say at some point in time, well, you made a huge mistake and now you're out.
yeah,
There's
bad.
got to be some common ground. So I think maybe, I think if she could just get her option money back and be able to move, I think she'd probably do that. If we could make that deal.
Yeah, with $10,000 to work with, she could probably find.
Well, there's your fee.
Yeah. Well, now this raises a possible. I'm going to back up. I'm not even going to talk about that. I was going to say you could get into a deal where you pay a retainer to real estate agents, sort of like you pay a retainer to attorneys. That might be another way of doing it. But then if your real estate agent takes your retainer and then doesn't do jack shit afterward, then you're at your retainer and do you want to spend time going after that real estate agent? Probably not.
Well, so let's talk about this, because what's really interesting is what are we really getting paid for? Is it, let's just look at it from 10,000 feet and just call it media. Let's talk about media.
What are we getting paid for?
Well, yeah. So are we getting paid to expose the properties due to the fact that we're good at marketing?
Well, that's if we're the listing agent. Yeah.
Yeah. So my clients get out on Crexy. My social media gets a lot of following online. So I have lots of ways to promote the real estate listings. Crexy, I got to forward you the, I'm marketing a building for Marshall, and just as a friend. I mean, we need to all work together. But, and what's really interesting about our profession is that we police ourselves. And so I'm trying to create some sort of way of landlords and tenants policing each other. Well, it's got to stop that every time there's a problem, you got to hire a lawyer. There's got to be
Yeah.
some sort of common ground. It's like the Airbnbs. Okay, so you got to have a license to have that, but you shouldn't have to pay a fee for every license you get. I mean, we're feed to death. And so qualifying to be a landlord in the state of Kansas shouldn't be a fee, but how do you protect the consumers?
How do you protect?
Yeah, that's
so. I don't know what. Don't they make landlords register in Lawrence?
well, they have
And I know
and
they do.
I am going to take time to look up myself personally, Wyandotte, Johnson, and Sedgwick for sure.
I think they do in Johnson because I've had to, on behalf of one of my clients, I've actually had to write a couple of checks for registration related things
In California,
in Johnson.
if it's not owner occupied at the time of sale, they fill out. It's like part of the form
Yeah.
that you fill out.
Right.
What's the form? The
Seller's disclosure.
well, the at no at
The settlement
at
statement?
no, the other form at the questionnaire.
The
Yeah.
sales validation.
Yeah, the
question.
sales validation questionnaire. So in California, at the sale, there's a box checked that says it's not owner occupied. So as that's processed, it just makes a list.
Mhm.
Everybody's always worried about creating another department or something. But look, with the housing issue and the homeless issue, all this out on the table as a candidate, hey, this is nothing more than have an open discussion, public involvement. Hey, I got a lot of pushback from people to want to register landlords. It's like I'm taking your temperature as we go. Sorry, we went back to politics, but it does
Are
where,
you getting a lot of negative feedback on
well,
the
yeah, a
question
lot
of
of
registering
people.
landlords?
Oh, yeah, a lot of people.
Speaking of landlords, one thing that makes it easy to be a landlord is if you have a good property that people actually want to live in, that reasonable people want to live in. And I just listed this beautiful duplex over on 12th Terrace, by the way, 5220 and 5222 Southwest 12th Terrace. And this this place is awesome.
So you've got a duplex for rent.
Duplex for sale.
Okay, does it have tenants?
It's vacant because the tenants,
Okay, so where is it?
it's 5220 Southwest 12th Terrace, just west of Fairlawn.
Okay.
And it's really a cool duplex.
What's it priced at?
It's brick and it's 254,900.
Has it got a basement?
Full basements under each side.
Is it dry?
Oh yeah, yeah, they're good.
How's the HVAC?
HVAC's been maintained scrupulously.
So what
by
we
the
ought to
present
do,
owners.
we ought to go live at that duplex and do a walkthrough.
Couldn't hurt.
Yeah, why not?
We had a couple of contracts come in. right
Let's
after
sell
I
that house.
listed it.
Let's prove
And,
to the market that our show can make sales.
And my point with that I made earlier,
So what do you think they could rent for?
probably 1,200 aside.
So what's the NOI on it?
Because I know, like over on,
Do you know the NOI or projected NOI? Net operating income.
you'd have to say, I'm just thinking here,
So 1,200 times
to
12 times 2.
2,400 a month.
So what's the real estate taxes?
And the taxes there were about 3,200 a year.
Because you got to back that out.
Get back
Now,
to
are
that.
they all separate
thinking-
utilities?
I'm thinking your NOI is going to be about 20 grand.
Are they
a year.
are they all separate utilities?
The gas and electric are separate,
That's good. So common water.
and the common water,
So you just write the lease that they split the water bill.
right? You could do that.
Yeah.
So yeah, your
You can
NOI 's
put
been-
you can put water sub meters.
and
They
the
have
roof-
them.
The roof's relatively recent. It's brick, so you don't have to paint every 5 years. And they got a nice little courtyard.
This would
and everything.
actually be a great deal for somebody to buy and live in half of it and rent the other half.
Which, yeah, again, this is like
That's a good neighborhood.
to me, human behavior sometimes is just inexplicable in the sense that there was a
We've seen it all.
there was a Coen Brothers movie called Blood Simple, and
The
it's
brothers Cohen.
it's an old Texas expression meaning you go simple about something like getting even with somebody, and you get so obsessed with that you lose track of everything else. And I
Sounds
think
like
with-
Vic Miller.
could be with real estate, people get money simple.
Sorry.
They get so obsessed with, well, the last $2,000 or the last $5,000 that they forget, it's just money. Okay. What is money really? And do you want to buy are you going to insist on buying something for $245,000? Or if you really want this place for yourself and somebody else, maybe it's worth 250.
Did
But
you ever see the
the
movie
point-
Margin Call?
The point being, what's $5,000 compared to your level of personal happiness and comfort, especially considering that if I'm right, Topeka real estate is going to continue to appreciate in value. I remember I had a guy, he bought a little house on Bowman Court. This was like 25, 30 years ago. And he wanted this house. He said, you know what? I'm going to give her $1,000 more. This was like 1980s dollars. So $1,000 back then. He
To
said,
make sure they sold it.
to make sure I get this house, I'm going to give her $1,000 more than she's asking. So he gets the house, lives there, and 25 years later, it's worth double what he paid for it. So that $1,000, who cares? And again, it's just money. So if you really want something, like say you want that Cadillac Biarritz, and the guy says, well, I want 10 grand for it. And you say, well, how about 9,000? He says, I want 10 grand for it. I mean, if you've got a commodity that's worth what you're asking, then, and you're a buyer, then don't dick around with it. Just do it.
My first job was working for a fella named Jack Wiley. And Jack Wiley was the golf pro at Topeka Public Golf Course out
Yeah.
on Urich Road.
Oh, was his son
Jack Wiley Jr.
John
Yeah, yeah,
involved with Taco
the
John's?
tacos, yes.
Yeah, okay. I remember.
So he fired me.
His son went to high school with me.
Yeah, his son fired me, but Jack,
Oh, his son fired
yeah,
him.
he did. Well, I asked for $1 an hour raise. And I go, this is just a negotiation. You know, I'm in 8th grade.
You're in 8th grade.
Yeah, so 7th grade, I got paid $1 an hour, and we cleaned the clubhouse. We picked up the range. A friend of mine named Pat Sheehan and I, and
Pat Sheehan?
yeah,
Did he have a sister?
yeah, I think he did.
Yeah. Was that the big Sheehan family that lived over in Westwood?
No, this is the Sheehans of
Never mind.
of
Keep going.
north of Wanamaker.
All right, keep going.
Like so anyway, we got free food the day we cleaned the clubhouse. And so I'm cleaning the toilet, and Jack's, and he waited till 5 o'clock religiously, but he's pouring like an old crow.
Yeah.
And he goes, he just said those goddamn mall developers. And I go, what? He goes, yeah, they built a mall on my golf course. And I go, okay. So I washed my hands, wanted to hear the story. So he owned White Lakes Country Club.
Okay.
And so he told me the story, you know, basically from Wendy's to Burger King was the golf course. And there was a Fally's out there on that property.
I remember the Fallies.
Yeah, Lou Fally was actually the president of White Lakes Development and put the mall there. And so he goes, well, I go, why'd you sell? He goes, well, I quoted them a price that I thought they would never pay. And they came back and offered me 50,000 over it. And then he'd start laughing.
That's my whole point.
Yeah, he laughed all the way to the bank. And then his whole, the whole country club people, that was his 5 o'clock cocktail hour people.
Yeah.
And so he made out okay. So he died that November. And when I went back to work the next year for his son, I got fired for asking for $1 an hour more. And I go, hey, this is a negotiation.
That's just a sign that the universe didn't want you doing that job anymore.
No, then I got a job for $5 an hour mowing all the fields out at Lake Sherwood.
Wow.
So I went back and joined the golf course
Okay.
so I could be a member and put my middle finger up at him every time I played golf
Great.
because now I'm a member.
So that was John Wiley, class of 69 at
Yeah.
Turtle West.
So that's the kind of guy I am.
I wonder whatever happened to that guy.
Well, I don't know. We bought a taco deal from him on down by Topeka High. It's a Chinese restaurant now.
It was Taco John's. Yeah.
Yeah, it was Taco John's, but we bought it from the Wileys.
Yeah. That it seems like down there's hardly ever anybody in that restaurant. I don't know how they make it. 'Cause
Too
that's-
much MSG.
Really. That's real close to this
All right, so let's keep it real estate. So
Yeah.
what's your next deal?
12. Okay, so 5220.
Now let's talk about
Southwest 12th Terrace is now on the market, and it's easy to show, and we're happy to co-op.
Now,
by
do
the
you
way.
have that on Marketplace?
It's on MLS, and after this discussion, I'm reminded of the fact I need to put it on the Facebook Marketplace,
And anybody,
just like I did with 1322.
any
Collins.
professional or anybody in the real estate business wants to go to my real estate page and post something, a link, have at it. You know, I've got pretty decent following on the real estate page.
Mhm. This, by the way, is Facebook Live. We are now
This is not paid for by Shawnee County
Right.
Commissioner Henry McClure.
this is the real estate show, the real estate portion of the Topeka Factor, an exclusive presentation of Facebook Live. No,
Well, so
I want to say hi to my old college friend Carlos, who's out there in Colorado.
what part?
He's in, I think he's in the Boulder area or Denver.
Yeah, I lived in
I
Boulder
mean,
twice in my life. We did the Crossroads Mall in 83.
And he was somehow or other, he knew that Walls was going to be getting the nomination for vice president before any of my Topeka friends knew, because I was over there at a friend's house dialing in some political stuff in the evening. And all of a sudden on Facebook, he's saying, well, I've just learned, that the Minnesota governor is going to be on the ticket.
Well,
This is before it was announced. I don't know.
Bringing
How
it back
else how'd
to
you
the
do that?
Topeka factor, let's congratulate Braxton Copley for being the assistant city manager.
Braxton, way to go.
Yeah, he's moving on up.
Oh, he is?
Yeah, that's official.
So he's going to be,
He will be the assistant city manager.
okay.
So that leaves the head of public works open.
All right. Okay. Back in my radio days, I was the under assistant West Coast promo man. Flip side of the Rolling Stones can't get no satisfaction in 1965.
I went and talked to Cumulus about our show.
Oh, that must have been.
I didn't even get to Nick.
That must have been.
There was a girl there.
That must have been a soul draining conversation.
Well, there was a girl there, like in gym shorts, and looked like a high school kid, and like, okay, what a professional organization. It's somebody's daughter, nice kid, but I mean, look how I come to work. What am I talking about? Farmer Henry. But
I'll just briefly demonstrate my attire this morning. Okay, now back to your story.
Hey, as soon as I close Whataburger, I'm going to go buy a new suit.
Back to your story about Cumulus.
Well, so I knew that I needed to talk to Nick. I knew
Who's
that. Nick is the head of sales. He's a regional salesman.
Okay.
But I just went in cold, acting like I just wanted to see how I got treated.
Right.
And so I go, can I talk to somebody about buying some airtime? And she comes back. Nick's on the phone. We're going to have a disc jockey talk to you.
What?
Yeah. So
about buying airtime?
Yeah.
You
So
talk to a disc jockey?
well, I'm not going to talk to a disc jockey. So I gave him my card and left. And then I got a call from a nice kid, and we started talking, and it still had to go up to Nick. But it's like they wanted, I think, well, they're sending me the proposal in writing.
Okay.
But it's $350 for an hour if we produce our show, and we get to keep the advertising dollars.
Okay.
And it's I think $600 a show if they produce the show. And we can still keep the advertising dollars.
It's only an hour.
Yeah, but we'd have to commit to 1 year.
Okay.
Which makes no sense. But their 1440 has been down for over a year.
Been down.
Yeah, the tower fell over.
Oh.
And so I'm going to talk.
Is that why it sounds so bad?
Yeah.
No, I mean, when you dial in 1440 on your car radio,
the tower's down.
It sounds terrible.
Well, I'm going to see if I can buy the station.
Yeah. 1440?
Yeah.
Let's do it.
And I talked to
because it has an FM component now too.
I talked to Ryan, and he'll allow us to put the tower here.
Yeah. Well, find out if they've got a little low power FM component to that now. You knew that.
Yeah, and we also
because see if we could get the FM component, then we could play music on the FM side. We could do the rock and rhythm review, or yeah.
Well, and I just think as a real estate professional, there's going to be more money in the media side, and I also think that and KSNT described me as an outspoken person, but
better than being called an ogre.
Yeah,
you're moving up.
I'm outspoken, and that's good. But I think that we're going to need to be more outspoken with the media, in the media, about the way things are done in this town. That we don't have an even playing field. I actually think that the chamber violated the Hatch Act, and
could be.
Yeah, I want to dig into it because. And here's what my whole problem is, and I'm sorry, I went back to politics. But we've got to create an even playing field for all the business people.
This in theory is the real estate segment of
Yes, and
the Topeka
engaging all the real estate people is part of my platform. But
That shouldn't hurt.
no, it is. It's part of my platform. It's out there. It's always been part of my platform.
We could get together with the Sunflower Association and
Yeah, why don't you have a meet the candidate thing going on over there?
well, and yeah, that would be good, actually. You know, with all
But-
this, go ahead.
No, what's the next listing? Let's break it down. Let's talk about 10th and Topeka.
Yeah, let's not talk about 2129 Southwest Buchanan.
Well, that's your fault.
That's my fault.
You should have asked the broker ahead of you.
Ask what?
You should have asked the broker ahead of you.
Yeah.
Me.
Yeah. Now that's the opposite of what I was talking about earlier. Until you meet price resistance, then your price isn't right.
Well, and also
sometimes-
too, when you read, you've
sometimes
got
when-
an owner that is.
When you're a seller, you have to recognize.
I reached price resistance from the seller
you know,
as a broker.
I just closed on a deal in Coffee County, and I was arguing with the owner for months about the right price, and finally he proved me wrong. I kept saying, you got to reduce it, you got to reduce it, and he was going, Marshall, you do not understand. This is a big house on 5 acres, and there are other.
But he
houses."
was right.
He turns out he was pretty close to.
What'd
being
you
right.
sell that house for?
That closed for 150
And 5 acres.
and 5 acres.
And
I
a
was-
little slice of heaven out there in
list
Coffee
price
County.
list price 159.
So did you make money on that deal as a broker with all the travel back?
As an agent,
Yeah.
I might have been making $10 an hour over the course of several months of driving back and forth to Burlington. The first couple of times it was kind of interesting because I've never spent much time in Coffee County, although there's a little town down there called Gridley. And
What's going on in Gridley?
well, that's where my
Did you see him? When you say Gridley, all of a sudden he like got a charge of energy.
well, that's
What's going on in Gridley?
That's where I actually had what you could call the first date with my wife. Because-
Nancy?
Yeah, because the Kiwi Good Guys basketball team was.
Oh
was-
my! Who
we
was
were-
on that team?
We were me, Mike Mans,
Mike Mans. He's
Paul
a
the
good
Bruiser
guy.
Smith, Bob Totten.
What about Fritz?
Fritz, for some reason, just never got too interested in participating in any staff activity. Like we were kind of beneath him or something, but
He was at the country club,
he would have been. So anyway,
making sure Aaron Mays has got his kickback money.
whatever.
Okay.
No, he's in Lawrence now,
Okay.
and he's a big proponent of the flat Earth theory. By the way,
Oh,
he's kind of
I like Fred. His dad was a good sailor.
yeah, but
You got it. No, nobody hated Fast Freddy.
but anyway, this listing was close to New Strawn, just down the road from Sharp.
Newstron,
not too
though,
fa-
is all the Swedish people, right?
Maybe not too far away from Burlington, and actually pretty close to Wolf Creek. So we thought possibly someone who worked at Wolf Creek would want this house. And this one, we actually had probably 5 or 6 offers.
Now, does it come with a
Until the-
fallout shelter?
And no,
No.
so the seller finally got one that it does actually. There's an old cellar in the yard, which could be turned into a fallout.
There you
shelter.
go.
So,
You know, Clark Duffy used to do inspections on Wolf Creek.
did he really?
Yeah, he was very diversified fella. So let's,
So anyway, that's
you know, you want to talk about a real barn burner for me. It took me and Rezac 2 years to close the Pizza Hut deal there on 29th Street, and we split $6,000.
wow. That's 3,000 a year. No, wait, that's 1,500 a year
And I can't
for you,
even figure out how much political capital I used or tried.
just to get that done.
Oh man, it was
And-
brain
And
damage.
now,
But it's
I want to say hi to William.
hello, William. Which William? William Tell.
Now he's got a son in the real estate business now. William Ma does. And
Oh
his,
yeah, he's
his,
a good guy.
his son works for
I want to
the,
sell him all that land that I've got up on Rochester
the
Road.
new company that's in the bank tower. I think it's just called Topeka Realty. It's Greg Purton. Those
Yeah,
guys.
they got a nice view.
They got yeah, it's a nice office.
He's a go-getter.
If I were to ever change offices, I'd definitely apply to go to work there. But I'm probably going to be at Valley till I retire, whenever that is. Anyway,
Well, you ought to just
say
make
hi to
it to
William.
where when John retires, you get the building.
That'd be good.
Yeah.
In fact, you go to work on that deal for me, and I'll pay you a buyer's agency fee.
Now, I'm not a member of the Men's Grill. You
Yeah.
got to go to Topeka Country Club down to the Men's Grill
Down
to
to the
make that
Men's
deal.
Grill.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, yes,
What was that Eagles song? Down at the something grill?
down on the corner.
No. Eagles. Down at
Eagles.
the something grill.
Oh yeah, Sunset Grill.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
Okay.
I
So,
love Eagles.
This is the real estate portion of the Speaker Factor, and
Hey, this is actually the Lionsgate Day of Plenty and Prosperity, 888. This is the magic day. My daughter called me and reminded me about it.
Oh yeah,
The
August.
Lionsgate portal has opened up, 888.
Okay, well, this is the day to make a lot of money.
Yeah, so you can do it here on the Topeka
888.
Factor.
Yes.
So the real estate portion, heck, I've got all that land out at 37th and Gage, where the Elevation Parkway will never go in, and I wasted a lot of money over at Cook Flat and Strobel with all this engineering. So I've got all that available. I can give you. I've got the 21st and Adams with a lot of everybody knows about that. Is
there now? What's that zone? 21st
well,
and Adams.
it's R. No, it's M2, M1.
Okay.
And but Dan, the planning department has already okayed C2 commercial.
Okay.
Because I was trying to get Casey's there.
Oh.
So yeah, Dan Warner, don't forget that you've already approved that. And
Casey's is on California now.
well, they took California over that location.
Right. Well,
that's okay. I got my commission.
California is a happy.
Oh wait, what?
California.
I was supposed to keep that quiet.
Oh,
well, nobody watches the show.
Yeah. Don't tell anybody, but Henry got paid for that one. Okay. And then we've got the corner of 10th and Topeka, which should be an interesting location given all the state activity down there recently. And that building is $17 a square foot, a reasonable price.
I think so.
For a restaurant.
Yeah, let's run the numbers on that whole thing.
17.
I mean, really what you got to look at it is.
I had one person ask me about that already. And after I put the sign up, and
we got to get.
I told them it was $17 a foot, and they were like, "Oh, that's just way too much."
Well, the best way to do it is to work backwards. What you got to figure it out. You really got to base it off the sales. So you want their sales to come in at 6%, and so you could work backwards to figure out how occupancy cost and 6% fit with each other. So based on their sales.
The occupancy
cost.
The occupancy costs should be 6% of sales.
Right. So you got to figure with CAM, taxes and insurance, everything, and rent, that it's equivalent to basically a 6% occupancy if you're trying to get a restaurant in there.
I see.
And what I think that would be, I tell you who should look at that. That'd be a good place for a lobbyist.
Okay, but if you're going to, and by the way, I did send out brochures to tons of lobbyists.
Hey, Fred Patton, this would be a good, I know Fred's looking for a spot.
Is he?
But you could cut it up. There's a way to put, you could put multi-tenants in that building.
Mm-hmm.
You got a lot of value there with the hood, but I think it's too big of a place for a sit-down restaurant when you just don't have the parking.
Yeah.
Okay. And you can't get a drive-through.
Right.
And there's just not enough residential base there. So I think it'd make a good office restaurant, or really, it'd be great office space if you have anything to do with the legislature.
It would be a really awesome location for a Capital One cafe. And I went to the Country Club Plaza to try to talk to people at the Capital One Cafe about getting contact information for whoever decides where they're gonna put those. And
Didn't I get that for
I
you?
got absolutely nowhere with
I
that.
thought I got that for you.
For Capital One, no,
Yeah.
no.
Are you
They-
sure?
I'm sure.
Because I asked my friend Mark Klein at Mace Rich, because they own half of it,
Yeah,
and they gave it back to the bank,
right,
and the bank just sold it
right.
for 75% of what we paid for it with Alfred Todman. And here's what's coming to Topeka. Don't legalize marijuana. And real estate taxes for that property were $44 a square foot.
Yeah, we talked about that.
Yeah, so you can't make any money.
Yeah,
You can't make any money.
that's impossible. That's Kansas City, Missouri.
And then, so if you, and we had trouble getting the real estate taxes. We were protesting them. We never could get a hearing. So if you think about the Country Club Plaza going back, being sold at 75% off, when I was there, it smelled of weed, urine, and homeless people asking for money. Guy wanted to sell me a joint. I said, "Nah, I'm clean and sober." He goes, "Well, I'll lower the price."
When I went to see Capital One Cafe, I didn't see any of that. But are you sure you went to the
Oh yeah,
Country Club Plaza?
I know Country Club Plaza.
Are you sure you weren't?
I'm a stockholder
Huh?
in Mace Ridge.
Okay, so you didn't by mistake end up at the corner of like
No.
Prospect and
No,
39th Street or something? Okay,
but look, I mean, if you can't,
we Topeka boys can get lost in the big city sometimes.
well, I lived in Kansas City for years,
Okay,
for a year,
okay.
but I'd go there for
It's a
business
long
all
year.
the time.
Well, okay. So
Well, I was in the mall business. I leased, at the time, I was leasing Metcalf South, Metro North, East Hills and St. Joe. But I worked for the largest mall developer in Kansas City, Frank Morgan and Sherman Dryseson.
okay.
You know, they developed Antioch, they developed Bannister, they developed Metcalf South, Metro North. They were owners in Bannister, Oak Park Mall. So between Izzy Ozar and Kopake and White and Blitt, it was like a tapestry. Like Kopake and White and Blitt might take the lead over here, MD Management might take the lead over here, but they were all in the deals together. A lot of people would say that was the Jewish mafia, but they're not mafia. It was just more of like a term of endearment, you know?
Sure.
Yeah.
A term of respect. A
Yeah.
term of respect.
Yeah. They're a group. They all stuck together. Man, I met a lot of great people.
As opposed to someone named Max Jabin, who actually was Jewish mafia with the Savellas, but that's the difference.
Or Lucky Luciano, or
Well, Max was a Kansas City guy.
so
He was
I had a great opportunity to stay in Kansas City, and Sherman said, "Look, I can only pay you so much through the shopping center company." He said, "You're the highest paid guy, but look, get your broker's license. Let's just do deals together." If you looked at his K1s, it was that his accountant lived, I mean, literally was above him, had a whole floor, one client, just MD Management, Frank Morgan and Sherman Dryseson.
okay. So bringing that back to Topeka in the
Okay.
present,
All right.
we've got, well, we have a lot of property downtown. You know, our friends own Julie's down there at 911. I don't know if that's a leasehold or whether they,
He's a tenant.
with Chris Schultz.
Yeah.
Yeah, Chris has done a great job on that property.
Boy, Chris could tell you some stories about the city. And,
Oh, yeah.
you know,
He got totally screwed by the city a few years back when they redid all the sidewalks and created a
Leak.
Basically, they made a private lake.
They
out of his
created a
basement.
leak.
But another interesting thing about
Well, no,
that,
let's talk about our listings. Let's keep it. Let's just keep it in our wheelhouse.
well, we talked about 10th and Topeka.
Okay.
We've got a little over 5,900 square feet there
All right.
for sit-down dining, lobby.
So do we have a brochure on that?
Dental. Well, I had the multi-list printout. I don't have a brochure.
Okay, I'll get your brochure from. I'll make you a brochure from Crexy,
Okay,
and we'll print it up and put it. We'll tag it on this.
let's do that.
All right. Anything
Okay.
else you want to talk about?
I don't.
Do you want to go get coffee at Dialogue, or you want a shot clock?
Speaking of coffee houses, we have friends at Dialogue, which is over on 29th Street, which is where we'll now adjourn the
And
Speaker
we're
Factor.
gonna start talking about sponsorships and whether or not we could actually tell Cumulus they got to pay us to be on their show.
They should. Actually,
Yeah,
it's called Air Talent. It's called Personality
I think
Radio.
this is entertainment.
But yeah, let's talk about what if anyone out there would like to invest
I'm live.
in non-corporate media, help us buy 1440.